In this edition of INN CEO Talks, I'm joined by Elmer Stewart of Copper Fox, which is focused on the exploration and development of large copper projects in North America. Elmer, welcome back.
It's good to be here. Stu. Good to see you again.
Great to see you. I think this is your fourth, maybe even your fifth appearance on the show. And as always, I like to just give a little recap here. You have, some significant projects. Schaft Creek being one of them, which is a joint venture between Copper Fox and Teck Resources, and it's located in northeastern BC. And then you have the Van Dyke project in Miami, Arizona. And as I understand, you also just completed a high-resolution magnetic and radiometric survey of your Mineral Mountain project just outside of Florence, Arizona. But let's start with a recap of your Schaft Creek project. Bring us up to date.
Yeah. In 2021, we focused on doing an updated resource for the Schaft Creek project, which was followed up by a preliminary economic assessment. And the reason for doing that was the joint venture had done a substantial amount of work, and Teck as operator, they certainly reduced the operator risk and things like that, because projects to scale of Schaft Creek, there are not many of them out there, and the thing is, they need large operators or big operators or senior producers to move them forward as well. And the other thing is, we have a joint venture there, and we like the joint venture. And if you want to find out about the joint venture agreement, just look at our PowerPoint presentation on our website, and you'll see all the fine details of it. But we did that, and we used very conservative metal pricing, very conservative metal recoveries. But we established an after-tax NPV discounted at 8% of $842 million US. And so, that moved the project from 2013 value of $64 million US at 8% discounted after tax, $842 million, which is, when you think about it, that's a substantial increase in value. Where we're at now, we're focusing on a 2022 drilling program, and the drilling program is to do some infill drilling between existing drill holes, collect metallurgical samples for metal recoveries, variability testing, lock cycle tests, to improve the recoveries or to see if we can improve recoveries. And generally within the first 5-year pit that was outlined by the PEA study, but we're also going to be looking at other parts of the deposit as well. So that's the big news for Schaft Creek going forward. We hope to get started soon. Once we do, we'll obviously be putting a news release out and looking forward to the results of it. Because late last year, we produced some results for a drilling program in late 2021, got suspended early because of the onset of winter weather conditions, which created a substantial issue with safety. And we've got several near surface zones of higher than life of mine average grades in copper and gold, which I personally think was quite exciting for the project itself.
So let's go south now. Let's go down to your Van Dyke project in Miami, Arizona. What's the current status there?
Well, the status is essentially what we did in 2021 at Schaft Creek is the same we did at Van Dyke. We just a little bit earlier in Van Dyke. We updated the resource estimate, led to a PEA. And it's an updated PEA because in 2015, we had an after-tax value at 8% discount of $145 million US. And the after-tax discounted value of this PEA was done in early 2021. We did it at 7.5% discount rate to stay in line with the peers in Arizona and come up with an after-tax value of $645 million. Now, that's a project we own 100%. So clearly when we've seen that, and the project enhancements that were identified was the recommendation is to move the project forward to a pre-feasibility stage. And in order to do that, if you want to move it forward, one of the things, if you were thinking of obtaining a Class 3 well permit for maybe down the road production, the idea would be to try and start right now and set up a hydrogeological survey where you establish sampling points, which requires a 3-well cluster. And the idea would be to map the hydrology, because you need to build the hydrology if you want to go into the permitting process. And at the same time, combine the hydrogeological work with the geological work of maybe expanding the resource, because we know the resource is expandable. Collecting more down samples for in situ pressure leach tests to inform better idea on the recoveries and geotechnical aspects of the well approach as well. So what we're doing right now, we've had the meeting with the EPA, we had the meeting with the ADEQ, And I've been meeting with certain stakeholders in Arizona, and we're just waiting for the some of the contractors who we've retained to help us along the project to deliver their final recommendation. They've been a little slow, but the slowness is not on their part. It's because the service industry is so busy. It's hard to get quotes. It's the same. So that's where we're at. And once we get that information, we're going to put out a 2022 program for Van Dyke.
So what about at Mineral Mountain? The great thing about talking to you always, Elmer, is that you've got a number of projects on the go. So quickly, let's touch on Mineral Mountain, and and then we'll move on to another project after that.
Okay, good. Well, we did a combined high-resolution aeromag and radiometric survey at Mineral Mountain. We also did it at Sunboro Butte. Now, we announced the results from Mineral Mountain, and what we think we've developed there, and we're pretty comfortable with this. We've developed a very large porphyry footprint in a laramide intrusive. The east side of the intrusive is mineralized. The west side is pretty much barren. And the aeromag survey basically identified three very distinct mag highs that show almost a direct one-to-one correlation with the mineralization. And the radiometric survey, we're looking for thorium to potassium lows, or we call those anomalies. And they're usually created by the potassic alteration that's associated with the porphyry system. And all the mineralization, the three mag highs, all sit within a very distinct mag low that rings the eastern side of the laramide intrusive. So we think we've got an excellent exploration target. Do we want to do more work there now? We're just kicking that idea around, but we'll be bringing the results for the Sunboro Butte survey out as well very soon.
Okay, let's come back to BC. So you got two projects in Arizona, and now you also have two projects in BC. The other is your Eagle Head project. Bring us up to speed.
Well, we purchased Eagle Head in 2021. We purchased 100% of it. We like that project primarily because it's got 120 mineralized drill holes in it. It's got a very large porphyry footprint. We spent a lot of time updating a geological model, doing other desktop studies. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do a drilling program to fill in the gap between the bornite zone and the east zone, which is about 500 meters. The geophysics suggests that the mineralization should be continuous, but in our business, you don't work on suggestions. You have to drill the holes, and if it is mineralized, then we'll have a zone of mineralization that's about 1.5 kilometers long. Now, if it's of sufficient quality and quantity, and we've already retained Moose Mountain to do a data gap analysis at Eagle Head for us, and depending on what they say and depending on the results of the 2022 drilling, we may be able to move the project to a resource statement. If we can, that'll be a material advancement for that project. And I like that. We like the recoveries that have been established by the historical work. We like the size of the footprint. It's a 4-metal system, pretty much like Shaft Creek, and so it's we think it's got some very significant potential.
Well, as we've talked in past interviews, there's no doubt that the demand for copper is rising, going to continue to accelerate. The price is increasing. The timing on these projects seems to be in line with the demand for increased copper supply in the market. For investors who are watching, what's the most important thing that you want them to take away from this interview?
I think there's several things I want to take away. I want people to understand that Copper Fox is not your typical junior explorer. I would rank us within the top 10% of junior explorers, primarily because of the resource base we have, primarily because of the joint venture we have with Teck Resources, and we have a very large established resources on two of our advanced projects, one being Shaft Creek and the other being Van Dyke. The second thing would be is that we have established a very high net asset value per share. Now that net asset value per share would suggest that and should support a higher share price than where we're trading at right now, and that's one of our objectives is this year is to align those two metrics. And the third one is that our assets are all located in a tier 1 mining jurisdictions. And all the projects have, like at Shaft Creek and Van Dyke, have potential to add more resources. At Eagle Head, we have a potential to move to a resource statement in 2022, early maybe 2023. And at the Mineral Mountain Sunboro Butte project, very large porphyry copper footprints and good potential for an exploration discovery there.
Good time to be looking at copper fox, isn't it?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Elmer. I'm always excited when we have these discussions because I am fascinated by what's happening in the copper market. And I think your alignment with what that rising demand is put you in a unique spot. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much, Stu.